Thank you very much for meeting with me. I'm Kelly McCoy with the Portuguese Oral History Project. So I'm going to start off by asking you some questions about your beginnings. Tom, where were you born?
I was actually born and raised, I was born in Porterville at the hospital, but I was raised in this home right here where my mom and dad lived all their married life.
And when were you born?
I was born in 1955.
And what is your full birth name?
Thomas Barcellos. And strangely enough, when I was little, I thought my middle name was Num, because on a lot of legal documents they actually put NMN for no middle name, so it was kind of weird.
Were you named after anyone?
Nobody in the family, but you know, I was named after St. Thomas.
And what is your full birth name?
I'm Felomena Barcellos.
And were you named after anyone?
No, my mother was just petrified of childbirth, and Saint Felomena was the patron saint of expectant mothers.
So when and where were you born?
I was born in Visalia, California, and I was born in 1956.
So how does a Visalia girl and a Porterville boy meet?
Well, I was actually raised in Tulare. I was just born in Visalia, but I was actually raised in Tulare, west of Tulare, yeah.
So how did
We're
you guys
Portuguese. Where do Portuguese people meet? They meet at the festa.
Yep.
And I was introduced to her by her best friend, who was my aunt's goddaughter.
meet? And was this like immediate? Did you know right then?
I did. I don't know if she did.
I don't know. I liked him.
What year was this?
Oh my gosh. I was a sophomore in high school.
The summer of 1973.
And what year were you in high school? You were a sophomore?
I was a sophomore. It was the end of my sophomore year when I met him. Yeah, the end of my sophomore year. And then, yeah, we dated for a total of 3 years, and yeah, they got married in 1976.
And you brought her here to this area.
To Tipton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She came to where I was raised. I had started farming the same year we got married. I rented some property that my mom and dad had, and I left the so-called family business where we were with my uncle and grandparents and whatnot, and started on my own.
So did you know, when did you realize that you wanted to work in agriculture?
Probably when I jumped in the first mud puddle when I was maybe 2. It's just something that always intrigued me. I loved my little toy tractors, and you know, I had a little garden and I had little toy tractors to garden with, and I started driving a tractor at the age of 5 for my dad to feed cows, and it just went from there.
So is the business exclusively then dairy?
No, actually, when I started on my own, I was strictly farming because my uncle and his boys had the dairy that was here. And sometime later, about 6 years later, when my grandparents passed away, my uncle and his boys kind of went on their separate way, and the dairy facility, as part of the family estate, I had the opportunity to come back and buy some of the family members out, and a few years after that we rented the dairy for a few years to an outside person, and then 1989 I decided, you know, the only way to do this right is to have my own cows here, so that's when I went into the dairy business along with my farming operation.
So do you still have a farming operation in addition to the dairy business?
Yeah, the farming operation that I started with Barcellos Farms in 1976, and it's still going. And T-Bar Dairy was started in 1989, and then we started White Gold Dairy in 2012, which is a partnership with my daughter Bridget and her husband Matt.
So now I understand that working in agriculture, primarily dairy, has been a very big part of the Portuguese-American kind of legacy, especially here in California. When you were growing up, Tom, and then I'll ask you, Bridget, when you were going, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
Felomena.
That's okay. It's the daughter.
I
That's
know.
good. My mother does that too.
I should have had alcohol maybe for lunch or something. So when you were growing up, Tom, did you have a strong sense of your Portuguese identity?
Oh, absolutely. We spoke Portuguese at home until my older brother started grammar school, because he only spoke Portuguese and goes to grammar school and had to learn English. That's when we started speaking English in the home. And my grandparents, who lived next door, which is now my home, spoke only Portuguese in their home, even though I know Grandma could do much better. She could go to town and get whatever she needed in the right color and the right size and pretended like she couldn't speak Portuguese. Couldn't speak English? Yeah, I don't think so.
So in addition to the language, what were some other traditions that were practiced in your home growing up?
Well, we went to church every Sunday in Tipton at St. John's, and right across the street is the SPDS Hall, which is the Portuguese hall. The SPDS stands for O Espírito Português de Espírito Santo. And my dad was part of that committee that put on the celebrations each year. Later on, when we got married, I was very involved in that as well. I was secretary for many years, president in 1989, when my daughter Bridget was little queen. And so, yeah, it's been a very, very big part of our family.
And when you were growing up, was it a big part of your family as well?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. We went to all the celebrations, and, we're in the parades every year, and yeah, I was little queen also for Tulare, for the TDS in Tulare. When, so it was a big deal.
So why do you think the Portuguese, primarily those from the Azores, why do you think they've been so successful at maintaining their identity when so many other groups have become so assimilated that they've lost that?
Well, those traditions I'm sure are part of it, because everybody likes a good dance, everybody likes to eat, everybody likes a parade, so here you go. Yeah.
Right. What do you think, Tom?
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that there's a certain work ethic, and everybody had a lot of the same interests. A lot of them that came from the Azores. My dad was 3 years old when he immigrated. They went in the dairy business because they had a relative that was in the businesses where they worked. And that kind of carries on, but in the process of doing that, there were immigrants that came and worked here for my grandfather, that then when they left was to start their own business. Mm-hmm. And so there's just a tight-knit community that has the same interests, and it's all based on the heritage. We're American, we're nationalized, but at the same time, you can be a nationalist and still never forget your heritage, and we like it. As Felomena stated, who doesn't like a good dance or a nice celebration where you can get a big plate of sopas? It's hard to beat.
So when the two of you had children together, how many kids did you have?
We have 3 daughters.
And was it important to you to have that be carried on with them in terms of the language and the traditions?
Yeah, they all spoke Portuguese at home. The older 2 still speak Portuguese pretty well. My youngest is kind of, she kind of slipped a little bit there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Because then when they were all in school, it was just so hard to keep them all speaking Portuguese at home that poor Diolinda kind of got the short end of the stick there, but yeah.
I think a lot of that came too also that even though we spoke English here, my mother-in-law speaks very little English. In other words, she is a Portuguese-speaking person. Yeah. And my in-laws were more ingrained in the cultural activities than my parents, even though we were all involved. But since my mother-in-law was born in the old country and came in her teens, my father was 3. So there was something missing there. Even though we've gone back, I've seen the house that my dad was born in, and we really enjoy the culture. It's just the fact that we're familiar with it, and got to see some things. It's really amazing. And we still have some relatives there in the Azores Islands on Terceira.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you actually some questions about your impressions, like when you first went there, but let's talk a little bit about your parents. So your mother, as Tom said, she came over when she was a teenager. What about your father?
She was 19.
Oh, okay.
So my dad had family in Terceira, an uncle, and he went to go visit him one summer and met my mom. And 4 years later, I mean, he spent quite a while. He spent quite a few months there, and actually got to know my uncles, because his uncle and my grandfather were neighbors. And so he got to know my uncles, and before you know it, he gets to know my mom, and before you know it, they're kind of courting or whatever. And before he left, he actually proposed. And 4 years later, went back and they got married, and they honeymooned there, and then came here, came to California. Yeah.
Did you ask your mom what it was like leaving at 19 to start over in a new country? Was there anxiety?
Yeah,
excitement?
there was. I remember her saying there was anxiety, but my grandfather, her father, had been in this country for a few years and actually had a dairy in the Los Banos area, and he loved this country, and made money here, sold his share to two of his brothers, and went back and started his business there, got married, had 5 children, and lived there till they were elderly, actually, and then came back to California and finished the rest of his life in Gustine. And so, yeah, so he loved this country, and he really, really wanted that for my mom. He knew she would be happy here, and he really, really liked my dad's family too. Yeah. So he knew that the family really well, and knew she would be fine. Yeah.
And she was.
And she was. Then she was.
And
yeah.
did she ever encounter? Do you recall her saying? Did she ever encounter like discrimination or?
Oh no. Oh no. No.
I would imagine that's one of the advantages of moving to a place where there is a strong immigrant community.
Yes.
Already, there's that kind of tight knit.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned that you were a little queen.
Yes.
Was this something that you aspired to when you were little? I mean.
No, it just, my father was on the TDS committee, and I don't know, one year they needed little queens, and there was 3 of us that got thrown in the hat, and I ended up little queen, and the other 2 were my attendants. So that's just how that happened. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you guys tell me now about the festas? Have they changed at all over the years since the time when you were young? Have you noticed any changes?
Well, I mean, things always change a little bit.
What's interesting to me, and I'll just speak here to Tipton, it's actually on not a push, because we've never departed much from how it's been for as long as I can remember. Yeah. And I can remember quite a ways back. But we have some additional things now that we're doing. I mean, we've always tried to have events where the Portuguese dancers would come and different things. But Tipton's kind of special because, we have the bullfights, little bull on a rope. We have the vacada, where they have the calves. You go out and play with the calves. I was part of the group that built the arena that we put up and take down for these events. And, we have on right before Ash Wednesday, we have a matança where we cook cook trijums for 1,000 people.
And what is that?
It's when you take the pig and you butcher the pig, and then of course you marinate it and you cook it in these big calderons, the pots, and you serve them and they eat it up. And
it's
we have
really
younger
good.
people
Yeah.
now that are loving it and getting involved in it. And
it's marinated like in a vinha d'alhos, what the Portuguese say, which is wine and garlic, and so it's they call it a vinha d'alhos, yeah.
And it doesn't stop there. We also do a lamb feed to feed a lot of people. And, you know, my son-in-law, even though he's not Portuguese, Bridget's husband, I mean, he is in this thing, and he's part of the culture in terms of what we do there.
Yeah.
And there's others that are coming along. There's still some other immigrants, you know, who were young in the Azores and are here now, and they want to carry on the tradition. They're in their 20s and 30s and you know, becoming involved. It's a cultural, family, fun thing to do.
That's excellent. Sounds multi-generational then, that there are younger ones coming in, learning how to do the things, taking over.
Very much so.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So, about the festas, we'd spoken a little bit about this. Dairy, you actually have had a pretty large role in terms of giving cows to the local festa. Is that correct?
Yeah. Matter of fact, if I think back how many years, I don't know if we should have gave that many away, but it's once a year, you know, and then we also donate to the Tulare or Visalia celebrations because they're all part. We don't compete against one another. We compete with. In other words, who can put on the best celebration.
So can you give us an idea about how many cows are involved each year in terms of the donations?
Well, if you go back to 1989, the year that I was president in Tipton, we took in 93 cows that were donated. And out of those, we only end up cooking about 18. All the rest are sold, and the money comes in, fundraising, you know, to help feed, you know, surrounding communities, and anybody can come and eat. You don't have to be Portuguese.
Yeah.
And if they're sick in the community, we take and deliver
We
sopas to
deliver,
them on the days that we do that.
So what happens, there are fewer Portuguese dairies now. There are fewer dairies now, right, than there have been in the past.
Yes.
So what does that mean then for the festas and the donations? Does the pressure fall on whatever?
It does a little bit, but you know, when it comes time, it's amazing how people step up, and in particular, the dairies that are around here, and we say dairies, not all dairies are Portuguese. You know, there's a lot of Dutch dairymen. They donate cows because it's a community thing, and they come and enjoy it as well. You know, we don't define anybody by what their heritage is. You know, come and join us.
I think they also like the fact that it's a religious event also, you know.
So
I think
explain that. What do you mean? What do you
well,
think it is?
it's in honor of the Holy Spirit. So is how from what my Portuguese grandmother told me, that the first celebration, Queen Elizabeth of Portugal is the one that started it, and it was in honor of the Holy Spirit, and she would feed the poor, and like Bridget said earlier, she made a promise that if her husband and her son did not go to war against each other, that she would continue to feed the poor. And that's where that, you know, so it's a religious thing too. I mean, everybody believes in the Holy Spirit, so yeah.
My grandmother, my mother's mom on that side of the family, she came from Saheta on Terceira. And I know that it was in the early 60s that she had made a promesa when she came here, that if they were successful in business, that she would go back and feed the town. And in the early 60s, she went back to the Azores, to Terceira, to her hometown of Saheta, and bought a cow, bull, I'm not sure of the exact details, but they butchered it and had a big little mini festa to feed the people of the town. And you know, that's religion, that's belief, that's what you did it for. And if you don't believe, you won't understand. But if you believe, and we believe a lot, there's a lot of things that we can't explain, but we understand.
So would you say that if you really wanted to understand the heart and soul of the Portuguese people, one way to do that would be through their faith, through
Yes.
understanding that?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe so. Yeah.
So you actually, Tom, you started your business and it has grown tremendously. How many cows do you have now?
We milk 750 here at T-Bar Dairy, and then partnership with our kids at White Gold, we milk 900.
And you started with how many?
Well, when I was little, in the early 60s, we were milking 280 cows here.
So as you look at how much of the business, that part only, and not even including the farm side, when you look at how successful you've been as a businessman, how does that make you feel? What do you attribute that success to?
I attribute that to faith, believing, my good neighbors who helped me when I needed to start. My uncle, Manuel Martin, who married my dad's sister, Manuel and Danny Faria, loaned me equipment to get my first crops planted because I couldn't afford to just go buy a tractor. And once the crops were planted, then I had really not a lot to do equipment-wise for 6 to 8 months. We actually cut our honeymoon short because I had to come back and start irrigating.
Yep.
But that being said, you know, Portuguese community came together to be sure I was successful. And I've tried to return that same to people. Somebody needs a hand, like, it's not just me, it's our culture. People are there to help.
Yeah.
And I'm just blessed that we live where we live.
Felomena, you feel the same way?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. My parents, I forget the year, but I was probably 10 years old. Our cows were accidentally poisoned. The neighbor, the crop duster, and then the following day, my dad goes chop, alfalfa, feeds the cows. The next morning we wake up to, dozens of dead cows and sick ones. And the neighbors were just amazing. The neighbors were amazing in helping. I mean, the cows needed all IVs and just, yeah. But the neighbors, and I'll never forget, there was 2 neighbors in particular. There was an Italian on one side of us and a Portuguese on the other side of us. And because our calves still needed milk to be fed, Henry Verismo brought a cow, and my dad just wouldn't take it. He said, "Sorry, I'm not giving it to you. I'm giving it to your kids. You can't tell me no if I'm giving it to your kids." And the Italian neighbor on the same thing, brought us this big. I can still see her being unloaded out of the trailer. Yeah, it's amazing how neighbors, yeah, and family, and yeah, it's amazing.
Well, speaking of family, it looks like certainly with your family there's interest in maintaining the traditions and including the business. How does that make you feel, like you did something right?
I think Felomena's done a lot right because she raised the girls. And, I was working. There was a lot of nights that I was baling hay and she was home taking care of the kids. And
That's what you do.
It's a blessing. And, with my parents close and my in-laws not all that far away, but
Yeah.
everybody pulls together.
Yeah.
And, we were taught to make good choices, and I think we were able to pass that on to our kids. All 3 of them became teachers. One was an ag teacher, one is a special education teacher, and one is a band director. That's a pretty broad spectrum of capabilities, but growing up, they all ran farm equipment.
Oh, they all know how. They all know how. There was one summer that the girls and I were the swathing crew. We cut all the hay. Yeah.
Because you don't really hear that much about the girls being actively involved.
Well, our oldest ran a harvesting crew when she was a freshman in college.
And she was a freshman in college. She
Yeah.
ran the combines.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the boys that were out there were kind of laughing until she showed them that she could outwork them. And then it was a little competition. But yeah, we had 4 machines out there. And she actually ended up running the whole show.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, so I understand that you guys, you said that you went to the Azores. What was it like when you first went?
Stepping back in a time warp. Little cobbles, some cobblestone roads.
Yeah.
You could pick a spot where you think, wow, this is way back. And then you go down a little bit farther and real nice asphalt paved roads and beautiful homes
Beautiful
and everything
homes.
else.
It's
But
beautiful there.
it's
beautiful.
just amazing. It's
It's
everything's there.
It's kind of what I expected, only because I'd seen so many home films, home movies from back there. But yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Tell me what the people were like.
Oh, so friendly, so friendly. We got lost when we rented a car. We landed, rented a car, shoved all of our luggage in there, barely had room for us, and got lost. And I don't know, ended up like 2 freguesias from where we were supposed to be, 2 villages from where we were supposed to be. And I got out of the car and I says, "This is where we're supposed to be," in Portuguese, because I'm fluent. And she says, "Oh, I know exactly where you need to go. You got to pass 2 churches, one on the right, one on the left, and then make a right-hand turn, and you're right there." And so it was just, but so friendly. No matter where you went, no matter where you went, yeah, they were, yeah. No matter what restaurant, yeah. No matter which village you were from, it didn't make any difference. Yeah.
Kind of the real challenge there is not overeating.
Oh my gosh.
Because everybody, you go visit family, you go visit friends, you go visit strangers. Here comes the food.
Oh my God.
And
they're insulted
if you say
they're
no.
Offended. They're offended. And then when you go to these restaurants, they just start bringing it out, and the food's so good there. It's amazing.
How often have you gone back?
Oh gosh. I don't know.
We've been back 4 times.
I don't know. I was going to say 5, but
4 or 5.
Yeah, it's yeah.
We're ready to go again.
We still have the house that my mother grew up in. That my mother was born in Santa Barbara. Yeah.
It's still in the family?
It's still in the family. Yeah, it's still in the family. So we still have the house there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, wow, that's just
And
amazing.
it's so cute because the main house is still there. The house that my grandfather was raised in is right next door, and the house that his grandfather is in is right there too. So it's just amazing to see. Yeah.
And that one is hard to call a house. It looks more like a rock hut.
And it still has dirt floors, and it was 3 rooms, and they raised 9 children in that house. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I just have like a couple more questions that I want to ask you. We always like to tie it up by asking questions about what does being Portuguese or Azorean mean to you, and how has it kind of shaped who you are as a person? So, ladies first.
Oh my goodness, I don't know. I can't imagine being anything else. I don't know. I just can't really imagine being anything else. I remember, being in school. What are you? Well, I'm Portuguese. Oh, yeah, it was, I don't know, it was just important.
How do you think it has shaped you,
Oh,
the woman that you are? See, now Tom's having time to think about
I know,
it.
right? Right, that's really not fair. He should have been first. But
Yeah, what she said.
yeah. Oh, I don't know. I think it instilled really good work ethics. We're hard workers. We really are. And we're good moms. We're good homemakers. Yeah.
What makes a good mom?
Well, somebody who swats their kids when they need to be swatted, number one, but somebody who's just there. We did without a lot, because I could have went to work, but it was important to stay home and raise my girls, and that's what he wanted too. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to be home and raise my kids. I didn't want someone else telling me, oh, well, guess what? You know, Bridget took her first step today, or Deolinda did this, or Teresa did that, you know. I wanted, and if I couldn't do it, I wanted their grandmothers, you know, to be the ones, you know, not a stranger. And yeah, and I know my mom felt that way too, you know, and I'm sure my mother-in-law did too.
Tom?
Well, first of all, she did work. She worked at home. But she also many times came out, got on equipment and drove tractors. She was driving a tractor disking when she was expecting Bridget. So yeah, she worked. But being Portuguese, what it means to me is that we represent something. We have a heritage that we try to pass on, that we live. You know, it's part of us. And I have friends that don't have anything like that. You know, they're family members. You know, we're all over the country, not close knit. It's almost like they're alone. And you know, being Portuguese,
You're
never alone. You have, and again, you know, we have close knit family. We have a lot of same interests. I'm not a soccer player, but I know a lot of Portuguese love soccer. But you know, I like certain sports. But we have just a lot of things in common that carry on. I love to work on things. Things that have some value to me. One thing that I have that has value to me, that I was pretty involved in over a long period of time, about 14 years, was getting my mom and dad's 1949 Buick honeymoon car restored to like new condition. And to watch them see it for the first time, not knowing it was being done. I have the 1963 Jeep that my dad bought new, and I got in '69 when he got another pickup. I drove it to high school. I drove it when I started farming. I still have it. I took it back to my 40-year reunion. There's things that I see Portuguese people, we hang on to things that mean something to you. And again, like I said, I have some friends that have, that ale, we got another one, we got rid of this and that. It doesn't matter to them. And we have things that we just value.
Wow. Do you think that that's unique to the Azores? Do you think that there's kind of an island mentality because life was harder there than it was on the continent? Or do you think that's...
I don't know. I know people that are not Portuguese that value certain things, but not maybe as deeply, or, you know, there's
a sentimental value in, I don't know, even with raising my girls here on this farm that I know that their father was raised on and that it belonged to their grandfather and their great-grandfather. You know, I look at that barn and there's a lot of sentimental value in that barn. You know, they've talked about, you know, doing this, and I'm like, no, you're not changing the front of that barn. You can do whatever you want, but the barn stays the way it looks. I love it. I love the way it looks. Yeah, it's old. I don't care. I like it. Yeah.
After interviewing Bridget, it seems, I think you could be pretty confident that the barn is not going to change for a long time.
It's like, leave the barn alone.
Well, is there anything that we did not touch on that you guys would like to share?
I just really, number one, is like to say thank you to you guys who are putting all this together, because again, it kind of falls back to our heritage, something that can be shared. I know that you get, I can't imagine how many different perspectives you get, but I think they all come back to the same basic love of where we came from and who we are.
You are so right. There have been so many common threads. You all mention work ethic. You all mention family. You all mention language, even though some may speak it better than others. And you all mention the church, you know, as being those elements that hold you together, you know, and it's beautiful to see. I mean, as I've said to Denise, this has been an utter and complete blessing to have been brought onto this project, you know, to be able to meet folks like you and to have you open your homes and your hearts, because it's so obvious that you speak from the heart, you know, and deeply appreciative, you know, so thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.